Hey mate, how are you? There's two reasons why you're probably seeing this video. Either you're already a sub to this channel, or you're new because the algorithm has flagged you because you've been searching for Japan videos, eh? There is a third possibility that you've been searching up world's worst gamer / boomer, and you've ended up here. Highly unlikely though. Yes, I am a gaming channel, and as my subs already know, probably the world's worst gamer. But whichever you are, you're probably all wondering the same thing by now. Why am I here? Because I went to Japan, boys and girls, and theys and thems, and cats and dogs, and all of them. Now, I've got to note straight off the bat, I am not a vlogger by any means, and certainly not a travel vlogger, as it will soon become very clear. I shot this whole thing on my Pixel 6 for God's sake. But during the whole of April I went to Japan. I thought, you know what, I'll capture some little things for the kids at home. Now my wife and kids and I have been going to Japan for many years. We honestly love it. And there's a reason why you see so many streamers and vloggers going there. It's just that good, from the people, the culture, to the food, of course. It's a fantastic place to visit. Now in this video I just thought I'd start off sharing a couple of tips and then just let some visuals and some background music go while you check it out. Now while we're there, we went to a cat cafe, we went to Ghibli Museum, we went to Legoland, we went to Red in Tokyo Tower, and of course we went to Disneyland, both Disneyland and Disney Sea. Now in this video I'm going to show you the cat cafe, Legoland, and the Ghibli Museum, with a cheeky little cherry blossom display we found in the middle of this building. It was wild. And then I'll do a part 2 where we went to Red Tokyo Tower and the Disney theme parks. It was the 40th anniversary for Disneyland, so it was pretty cool. So make sure if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell just so you get an alert for when my part 2 comes out. And then after part 2 drops, you can just unsubscribe if you're not into gaming, because I know I would. Anyways, that's probably 80% of you have probably clicked off by now anyway, and the rest of you are still here. Arigatou gozaimasu. Now let's get into it. I thought I'd start with just a little bonus tip here. If you're able to, I highly recommend traveling with either JAL or ANA. Both are sensational airlines. I'm not affiliated at all. I had a few travels in my time, kids, and I'll tell you what, they're pretty top-notch airlines. So if you get the chance, I really recommend flying with them. Bear in mind, we traveled in April, so it's probably changed a bit by now. The airport's not fully staffed still, so we found that there was quite a few shops still closed and restaurants that weren't kind of open and that. And now a lot more people are starting to travel. I guess my first tip would be, whether you're flying into Tokyo and you're catching a connecting flight to, say, Osaka or whatever, try and aim to leave a little bit of time in between. Now, a few factors happened here. When I arrived, there was a massive amount of people, and I was in the immigration line for about 2.5 hours. I should note this time as well that I was still asking proof for 3 vaccinations. That since has been scrapped, which is pretty good, because we had a few issues going in there and they wanted to check our kids' ones, but they said if your kids are traveling with adults, they don't need to prove it, but then they wanted to prove for the kid. It was pretty nuts. But all that wasn't really, like, there was still a huge amount of international travelers, and yeah, so we actually ended up missing our connecting flight to Nagoya because I was in line so long. JAL were fantastic. They rebooked us on the next flight in the morning. Unfortunately, we did have to find a hotel. The only one we could find at the time only had 2 rooms available. We couldn't all stay in the one room, and it was about $250. So straight off the bat, we're spending 500 Australian dollars overnight, which wasn't planned in the trip. But anyway, and there was a lot of other people in our boat as well. So yeah. So I guess my first tip would be, try and leave a bit of time in between if you're catching connecting flights. Like I said, I was in line for 2 hours. It's probably changed by now. I don't know. Maybe others out there, you can comment below if you found you traveled there recently and it was fine. But yeah, that's the first time I've ever waited longer than an hour. And I guess tip number 2 would be the Visit Japan web app. So as I mentioned before, they're asking proof for the 3 vaccinations. That's since been scrapped, so that's fine. But from what I understand, they're still asking passengers to fill out the immigration and customs declaration. And I do highly recommend using this before you're traveling there and filling it all out with your details. It was pretty handy that I could just go there, present a QR code, they scan it, they punch a couple of things on the computer, and I was straight through. So even though I had to wait 2.5 hours in line, the actual going through customs and going through immigration was like less than 5 minutes. And it does eliminate one of my biggest frustrations whenever I travel. When you're trying to fill out that bloody little card, you know what I'm talking about? A little like declaration card, and you're signing everything, and how many, and you've got this much content, and you brought this much money in, have you got any vegetables, and you're bloody turning thing, and you're marking things, and the plane's shaking, and you're going, Jesus, and it looks like it's bloody been written by your grandma. Yeah, so fill it out, kids, save yourself some hassle. The only downside as well, it's not really an app. It's like one of those things where it's like you go to a web page, but you save it as like an app on your phone. So I recommend like taking screenshots of your QR codes. So that way you can just like, you know, you don't have to worry about connecting to the internet whenever you get there, you just show them. Because of course, when we got there and had to show them the vaccination things, they wanted to see the, and scroll down, even though the website never says like, you got to show this part and show who it's actually for. Like, it's hard to do it on a bloody phone. So we were sitting there trying to connect to the internet then, and it's like 500 to 1,000 other people connecting to the Wi-Fi, and it was horrible. So take some screenshots. Now, while you're in the airport, another tip I highly recommend: get yourself a pocket Wi-Fi. Every time we've been going to Japan since like 2006 or something like that, we've always got a pocket Wi-Fi, and it's always saved so much hassle. We don't ever use a SIM card and playing around. Sometimes it doesn't work, and it never had that issue. And these days you can just use apps anyway. Like people use a Messenger, WhatsApp, whatever. You know, it's so easy to use any internet-based app, and you'll be fine. You don't even need a SIM card. Just tell your family, hey, catch me on this. Catch me outside, how about that? Bloody mongrel, what's her name? Bad baby. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Yeah, any airport really has these Wi-Fi places you can go and check out. I'll try and leave some in the description below if you want. At Haneda Airport is the most common Tokyo airport. They're really easy. You go there, you just say, I want them for a certain amount of date. You can drop them off at any airport you go to, so you don't necessarily have to go back to Tokyo to drop it off, because they'll have branches of different companies that, you know, you can find in any major airport around there. Highly recommend it. It's great for when you need to get around and use Google Maps. It's a big one. If it's your first time going there and you have no idea where you're going, very, very handy. I found it sometimes a lot more reliable when you're in like subway or whatnot. You know, the internet connection is not great, but it's still a lot easier to use than this SIM card. But yes, get yourself a portable Wi-Fi. The final tip I'll probably recommend, and as you've probably no doubt heard if you've researched Japan a lot, Japan very much still a cash society. But the good news is they have gotten better. Over the years, it used to be a nightmare. We always had to get foreign exchange when we were in Australia before we travel, and we used to always pay God knows whatever it is, and the exchange rate is always ridiculous. It's an absolute nightmare. But yes, Japan very much still likes cash. The good news is though, after the Olympics, I saw a massive change in their use for tap and go, Google Pay. But in saying all this, I highly recommend you get yourself a debit card. What I personally recommend, and I'm not affiliated with these guys at all, get a Wise card. The Wise card was exactly what I needed. It was easy to set up an account. Everything can be controlled by the app, which is sensational. You can turn off whether you want it to be, you know, wireless pay, tap and go. You can change all this stuff, customize it from the app. You can deposit money from your bank account straight in there and literally convert it while you're in there to yen or whatever type of currency you're using whatever country you're going to. The best part is it didn't use those stupid exchange rates that like Travelex and your bank or whatever we use. It'll literally use the one, you know, when you Google, like what's the exchange rate current, it'll give you that top one. A quick tip as well, if you do get the Wise card, what I recommend doing is putting a bit of money in there, then going up to your local bank, putting in the ATM machine and taking some cash out. Because I read before that some people had issues when they were overseas and you got to put it in for the first time and then it activates it from when you first withdraw money or something like that. And they had a few issues. So I just went up locally to my bank, put it in there, took out cash. Kids ended up getting it anyway, God bless them. And then yeah, from there it was ready to go. It was fantastic. Now, it may sound like I'm getting too excited because I'm like a boomer, but bear in mind, many times I've gone before, even my mum came over once with a debit card and they couldn't even use it at their hotel. So Japan's gotten a lot better. There's probably other cards out there that are good to use, but I just found Wise so simple to use. And, you know, you're still getting paid while you're on holiday, so I'm like transferring money as we go. Like, it was just perfect, and everything that I could customize, fantastic. So yeah, this time Wise card saved us heaps because we didn't have to get any foreign currency in our own country. We just did it all while we were over there, which brings me to my next tip. If you do get a Wise card and you need to withdraw cash, I highly recommend going to Aeon malls, or if you can see any ATM that's like the Aeon, A-E-O-N. This is the one place that I found it didn't actually charge me a fee for withdrawing cash. I got charged when I went to 7-Eleven. It was like 250 yen or something to charge. So, you know, if you don't care, you don't care. But if you are annoyed by ATM fees, yeah, Aeon Bank. You'll find them anywhere in Aeon malls. You'll probably find them wherever. Like the Aeon malls are like the major centers in Japan, so you'll find one anywhere. You're probably like, can this guy stop talking? And I will very shortly. But if there's anything you want to know about Japan or, you know, other stuff we did, drop a comment below or ask this and that. I've been going for ages, so just hit me up. But for now, sit back and enjoy my very, very average footage. It's all shot on a Pixel 6, kids. you.